So a couple of things that I'll always use genuine for. I used a genuine seal on the back of the rear bearing. The bearing kit isn't a Toyota one, but this axle seal will be. So I'm particular about what I need to use as far as what's genuine and what's aftermarket. Something else that I got genuine was the rubber line that goes from the caliper to the solid part of the brake line. Got new genuine screws too. That looks pretty awesome. Disc brakes on the back of Bullet. What's the world come to? Disc brakes, no spacers. Pretty awesome. All right, now I'm not going to put the axle in until I've plumbed in the new airline. I've got to change from blue to black. Apparently the black's the new blue. So that way I know that the airlock is working. 99.999% sure it will be. It's guaranteed to, but I like to test it with air. Make sure there's no leaks, so I haven't damaged anything putting it in. So we'll leave the axles for a little bit and we'll load up the other side. A few interesting measurements. So that bump stop used to be directly over the center bolt of those springs. So with the old pack, that's how it sat. So we've moved this housing back 2 inches. That's where we were short on the tail shaft and having to extend the wrap bar. So that's the rear. We know the fronts went forward around 50 mil because I was already 30 mil forward. So we're going to be coming out of here about 4 inches longer in wheelbase. Also, the track width now with the 80 series rear diff is we had that measurement of 1310 inside of tyre to inside of tyre on the front. We also had that same measurement with flange to flange. So what we have here, believe it or not, is around the 1320, just over 1320. So we're only 10 millimeters wider than we are at the front. So we've actually scored here. This is a really good outcome for us. We don't have to really space out the front anymore. You know, we're only 10 mil different front to rear. I can probably fix that up at the front somehow with a 6 mil spacer if I have to. But here I was worried I'd have to run a 3-inch wheel spacer on the front to match the rears. A really good outcome. The 80 series housing with the 80 series center compared to the Hilux housing with the Hilux center, I'm only 15 mil lower. So I've lost 15 mil of ground clearance gaining a Land Cruiser rear end. I know 15 mil of rock under your diff when you're trying to get through a course is a lot. But once we got the 40s or 42s under this, you know, there's going to be plenty of ground clearance. Next move's getting the new airline to that rear center so we can test it before I put the axles in. Determine which one of these blue lines goes to the rear. So the front has got a black line because that's new school as well. The other blue line goes to my rear disconnect. So it's the latest line I've run. The old one's got black paint on it. It's been in there forever. So it's that one there. So I'd say that one there looks like the latest one I've fitted. That goes to the rear disconnect. And then this one here, which, yeah, that's the older one. So we need to take that fitting off and fit up the one for the black line. Now we can always double check that that's the right one. Let's hook up a bit of power. So I'm gonna go throw the rear locker on and see if it leaks air out of there. Yeah, that's the one. All right, so we got to get on the creeper now. Again, not really a fun job. Okay, we're on this end. Okay, so I've run it. I just want to clean the line out. So what we'll do is we'll turn the compressor on and then we'll turn the rear on. Make sure there's nothing in that line. It should blow out the back of the line there. So this is just a test I do because years ago now, ended up fitting up a Hilux one completely, axles in, wheels on, didn't even test it, drove it, and then basically I damaged the copper line putting the center in. So it had nothing to do with Brian's work. I never doubt his work. It's just me sometimes, a bit rough putting it in. Still got to change that barb so I can get the bigger line, the bigger breather in. So that's going to run behind the shock. I'm going to have to reroute that. I think it's going to be too short. Bit of paint on. I'm really happy with how all the angles have worked. The tail shaft going in at around the 10 degree. The wrap bar ended up straight. The only tiny concern I have is we're not sure, we probably shouldn't, but in case I hit that, I've always got the smaller size tail shaft anyway, until we put the two cases in, which will bring it back another 6 inches or so.